everyone, to Fridays with Steve. I'm Steve Thompson from Apex Digital Solutions. It's great having you here and appreciate the time we get to spend together every Friday morning or whenever you choose to sort of catch the recordings. We're continuing our series of me challenging the marketing team to make me look cool, as well as challenging myself because I think part of the premise of Raiders of the Lost Apps is some of these have been kind of forgotten or certainly less used applications than say Word or Excel, but still exist in the M365 world. Because of that, if you joined us last week or even in the Visio event, or what you'll see this week is a little bit of pulling together some different resources. It's not the straightforward, here's the pitch deck, here's the talk track kind of approach. And so we're going to have probably a little bit shorter session this week, and one that's just going to have me hop in and out of a couple of tools and applications, as well as talk a little bit about a program that's in place to help customers move and migrate, because classic Stream, sort of like new Coke, old Coke, right? Classic Stream is going away, right? So we will talk a little bit about it, kind of its current status and what it looks and feels like. I'll show you some of how we use it here at Apex. Talk a little bit about what's happening to it. It's going to be retired. The functionality is moving into SharePoint, which is actually a really good thing. I'll talk a little bit about how we can help. And actually, you'll see a bit of inside baseball when it comes to what's life like as a partner, where we get information and program invitations from Microsoft. I sort of cleaned up something we got from the Fast Track program late last week or early this week regarding the Stream changeover and the migration opportunity from a partner standpoint and how we can help customers. And then I've already kind of talked about it, which is I keep getting myself into these pickles where I think it would be a great idea to, hey, let's spend a bunch of time diving into Microsoft Project like we did last go around. I told Michael, our marketing manager, that I need a Fridays with Steve count. I think he's got it here somewhere. I don't have it in front of me, so I can reference the number of the episode. So the last episode around Project, I thought, oh, that'll be a great idea. It's a popular tool. There'll be all kinds of assets and so forth. I did manage to unearth the Microsoft Project public site from 2016, which was still public facing, which I found interesting. A bit has transpired in these last 7 years. And so it's always been a bit of a challenge finding this stuff. So I think the journey is part of the fun. Right? Like the road to get to Friday mornings is always pretty enjoyable for me, and maybe part of what I can pass along to all y'all is how that journey worked and how it might help you as well. The folks at Apex tease me a lot because as indicated by all this gray hair, I go back to a time where we anxiously awaited, our monthly shipment of the TechNet CDs at first, and then DVDs eventually, where the Microsoft knowledge base was provided to us to sort of use locally, versus having a web-based tool for support and things like Learn and Docs that Microsoft offers that everybody is sort of ubiquitous. And so, I'm sort of used to having to dig for information, and I don't know that that's ever going to go away. There's a lot of steam with ChatGPT and the death of search. I'm not convinced, right? I think there'll always be a role for us to have a little bit of detective blood in us. And so with that, I'm actually going to pause sort of the PowerPoint right there, and I'm going to change up what we're sharing and go ahead and just share out my whole screen, which will be a fascinating little adventure as well. And so the second I do that, I am going to need to get some stuff out of the way here so I can talk about Stream. And so, what was well timed for me for this Fridays with Steve was the launch of the migration campaign from Microsoft. And so, Microsoft is investing in you as customers and us as a partner when it comes to having the tools and the guidance and those kinds of things to really move away from classic Stream. And so just to call it out very specifically, February 15th, 2024. So it seems like a long ways away. That'll come up on us quick. One side note is I never encourage customers to sort of play chicken with Microsoft when it comes to this stuff. That said, there certainly have been a number of times where applications or whole operating systems, their end of life and sunset dates will shift based on sort of market forces, right? Microsoft's tried for many, many years to be able to, write code and support, the current or maybe the -1 version of things. But I think one of the things that attracted us all to the platform is things like backward compatibility and long life cycles and so forth. As some of you can plainly see now, I happen to use a Macintosh here in my home office, and notice I said Macintosh because I'm old and I remember when they launched versus just saying Mac. But the flip side of that is sort of the Apple strategy where everybody just stays current and they move fast and sort of deprecate past versions of things, whether it's hardware or software. But we're attracted to the Microsoft ecosystem because that isn't always the message. But as of right now, the date is the date, February of next year. I found it interesting, and I left it in, that there's about 10 million monthly active Stream Classic customers on about 50,000 tenants. And so a lot of us are actively using Stream content. I'm not exactly sure how they figure that number, because obviously there's a ton more O365 tenants in the US and around the world. This is probably people like we're going to do actually going into the application at some level versus just having recordings land there that never get used again. And so the way it works for us partners is we can raise our hand like Apex Digital Solutions has done and say, hey, we want to help customers. There have been meetings and education, there's program guidance, there's all kinds of things that we can do to help you migrate off of Stream Classic. And so before I come back to the on-demand content portion of that, I just want to spend a few minutes kind of walking through a similar experience to what we did last week with Project, right? So this is my own environment. This is the Apex Office 365 tenant. And again, I just want to start here on the apps page. Obviously, we're all familiar with sort of the big five here, but I'm drilling into the apps page, and I challenge all of you to kind of look through this list and in a couple of instances probably go, I don't even know what that is, right? What is Kaizala? And what does it want with me? There's a lot of stuff out here, and Microsoft certainly positions a lot of value within the Office 365 platform. Here's Project from last week, and here is Stream from this week. We're going to start talking about Viva here at the end of April and into May, and going through the different pieces that are available with Viva. Talk a little bit about Yammer and some transitions on this side as well. But if you haven't, I encourage you to sort of check out what's included currently in your tenant. One of the ways that we save customers money, and one of the ways that we fund sort of business enhancing engagements that customers do with us is looking for those places where they're paying for a tool, paying for a service, might already be included in something that they're purchasing, in this case specifically with Office 365. So we're here to talk about Stream, and so this is Stream Classic. You can see that it's a kind of a stylized homepage, talking about our content, and almost a YouTube-ish kind of feel to it. For most of us, Stream has been the platform where our teams meeting and calling recordings go. Have to be honest, that's what most of the usage here at Apex has been. It has really been around recording meetings, turning one-time meetings into training assets. When I take a look at some of the content that we have out here, you'll see very much a focus on those training events, those onboarding events as we add new employees and grow. And so while that's sort of the easiest way to get on board with Stream and using Teams as kind of a front end for it, it's not the only thing it does, but I think that's probably what most of us have done. I actually just want to take 2 minutes here, and we'll talk for a second. I'm just going to let a video play about channels and groups, talk a little bit about the organization and the structure within Stream. So that's just a quick example of some of the functionality in Stream and sort of in the future of Stream on SharePoint. And that's what's happening is all of this information needs to be migrated off of Stream Classic into the SharePoint world. For us, oh, sorry about that. For us, I looked at the video list earlier and made sure there was nothing untoward, right? So, you can see how we are using it to capture meetings, to be able to use and reuse training, things like onboarding, company history, those kinds of things. To be totally transparent, we never sort of got so into it that we had a large migration project ahead of us. And we've already turned on the SharePoint piece. Actually, one of the things that you can do as an administrator is behind the scenes change the behavior of the Stream app, launched from here to say, hey, does it go to Classic or does it go to SharePoint, right? And so we'll talk about a couple of migration strategies here in a couple of minutes. And so this is really how we've used it. One of the things as I transition to talking about the SharePoint piece is even going way back to the days of Yammer, when Yammer was launched. I think I was still at Microsoft. Is there's always been this notion of, when social networks or sort of applications in the public domain catch fire, there'll always be this element of, Yammer is Facebook for work and Stream is YouTube for work. And that makes a lot of sense at one level, but I think part of the reason behind the SharePoint migration, and you'll see some of this in a couple of illustrations I have, is that the problem is that YouTube, kind of like Stream Classic, was this whole other thing, right? Sure, we can share links back and forth. It's using Office 365 groups. Teams has that sort of embedded URL. Here's where my recording goes functionality. But when it came to storage and quotas and admin and discoverability and using, the Power Platform and all these other things, it was off sort of on an island. And so that's why, there's really this steam around moving Stream into SharePoint, right? Just like the cobbler's kids who don't necessarily have the prettiest shoes, we're just moving into SharePoint sort of natively right now. So this is Stream on SharePoint. You can see it's a SharePoint list. It's presented to me with some metadata and some ways that I can sort it. We haven't yet invested in sort of the same amount of friendliness and sort of skinning, because you can make it have this same look and feel, right? The same way you can take SharePoint and have it be kind of a file engine or a storage engine on the back end of Teams, but you can also make it these rich and robust sites. And that's part of this migration process, is really making this feel and work the way you want it to. Again, to be frank, I think in our world, as a file repository, discoverability integrated with the rest of M365 probably goes a long way. It goes a long way to satisfy our needs. Whether there are some existing customers that have invested heavily in Stream, or they look at this transition as an opportunity to do so. I think there's a lot of power there, and that's the kind of thing that this program over here on the left-hand side of my screen really talks about, how we have the ability to help you. So a couple of last things. I wanted to just show some resources here. Obviously, if you reach out to me after the fact, I can share all this information and data with you. On Learn, there's really some robust information around the new version of Stream on SharePoint. You'll find lots of sort of feature function lists. There was about a half-hour session that was done at Ignite last October that's available to stream as well. And here were those two sort of diagrams I wanted to show you, which is, Stream Classic was a part of the M365 family, but it was sort of a little bit off to the side, right? It shared some pieces. It looked and felt integrated, but at the same time, it wasn't that same level of integration. I think SharePoint makes it crystal clear, right? Where does SharePoint store files on SharePoint? Where does OneDrive store files on SharePoint? Where does Teams store files on SharePoint? Where does Stream store files? Well, how about we make it SharePoint, right? And so this is that evolution that Microsoft is working on. It's not a special solution for video anymore. They're just regular files in SharePoint. So now you've got all the tools, labeling, archive, compliance tools, e-discovery, quota. You've got all of those pieces because just like everything else, it's just another file in SharePoint, right? It's in that same storage engine. And I think that that's going to be a huge, huge benefit to customers. I also wanted to show you, pardon me as I scroll a little bit. There's also this roadmap piece that does a great job of talking features and functionality, what's available today. As you can see, here's kind of my view. But at the same time, here's whether you do it yourself or work with partners, that ability to turn that experience around Stream and the video platform into something that's very, very robust, very focused on bringing people in, making files much more discoverable, sort of skinning it for your own organization. And so this feature and roadmap piece really talks through all of the pieces that are available now, as well as on the plan for the future. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap today is this migration strategies piece. And so this is where your work comes in, or if you're going to work with a partner, where the work with the partner comes in. This isn't too dissimilar from a lot of the strategies you've probably employed historically or currently employing around different migrations, right? Hey, what do? Do we just pick up the whole environment and move it? That is absolutely one way to go, depending on your level of investment, the number of files, the usability, the training elements to it. That may be the way to go. The second is really going through that exercise of figuring out, hey, what do we still use, right? Is this an opportunity? Pardon me. Is this an opportunity for us to say, hey, here's what's live and in use. Here's what's more archive, what we want to ensure we hold on to these things, but people aren't really using them, almost sort of like a backup strategy, right? To say, hey, we're going to keep the files active on SharePoint that we know people are using. But if someone goes, hey, we had a really good segment in the onboarding video we did 3 years ago. I can't seem to find it. Can we go get it? All right, it's over in the classic Stream side. And so that's a second strategy that I'm sure you can relate to as you think about whether it's file migrations or Teams migrations, OneDrive coming from other tools or coming from file servers, sort of mimics what you may be doing. The other is, really letting users switch over gradually, or sort of having a slow migration strategy. You can see that you can, inject some information. I think I might have dismissed it. Let's see if I refresh the Stream Classic look here. No, I think I might have dismissed the splash screen that talked about, hey, do you want to try the new one? I know on the new one, it says, hey, are you looking for the old one? And so depending on your user base, depending on how technologically savvy they are, you have a number of different strategies when it comes to the migration. And this is where, we're here and willing to help. We have signed up for the program, so we've raised our hand to say, hey, we want to help customers migrate Stream, so we're discoverable that way. If you're an existing customer, obviously just reach out. So let me just take the last couple of minutes here. Look at my lovely desktop for a second. Let me bring this back up. And we're with that we're here to help message, right? We've been around a long time, 20 plus years. We're in the new partner program for Microsoft, already qualifying as a modern work partner, legacy gold and silver competencies across the board, continuing to grow. It's a great place to work. I love being here at Apex with hundreds and hundreds of customers served, right? From Microsoft licensing, through professional services, through product, as well as fully or partially managed services offerings. There's really a broad spectrum of what we can do. Obviously, today I'm talking about things that really fit in our professional services world, from Sean Flahy, our CTO and principal consultant, all the way down through our engineering teams, delivering great on time, on budget professional services is something we greatly pride ourselves on. And so what are your next steps? Obviously, at the bottom there, you can reach out to me. I can provide any of the stream links and documentation that we've been given access to as a partner. If you haven't seen them as a customer, just go ahead and reach out. If you're a current customer, just reach out to your account executive. We've got a great team in our sales department that is anxious to help you. We have a core company value around solve, don't sell. And so we're not trying to move product. We're not trying to move licensing. We're trying to help you accomplish business outcomes and fix things that need fixing, not simply doing work for work's sake. That doesn't sound fun at all. If you want to just reach out to the sales team, go ahead and reach out to sales@apexdigital.com. And then our website, lots of information, ebooks, documents, recordings of these infographics, lots of assets to help you move forward. We are in the middle of Q2 here. We've got lots of great Fridays with Steve, as well as marketing and sales campaigns planned. We're growing our team. We're really excited to work with more and more customers every day. And so give us a shout if you think we can help. I don't in fact look like that. I maybe aspire to. Actually, after we're done here, I do need to go hit the gym. Maybe I'll use this picture as inspiration. I again am tasking myself with talking about Yammer, one of those historic, lesser known applications. But in this case, I'm going to connect it to the Viva suite, right? There's a lot of communication, a lot of interest around Viva coming from Microsoft is really that next wave of employee engagement, of setting goals, of providing insights into the business. And so I'm excited to talk about that. Go ahead and check us out on LinkedIn and RSVP if that's of interest to you, or catch it after the fact via the recording. So that's it for this episode of Fridays with Steve. Thanks for joining. Thanks for bearing with me as I continue to saddle myself with week-long investigations into how we're going to add some value to the community around these topics. I tend not to be making mine or our marketing team's lives very easy, but everything we do for you. So thanks for joining us, and hope to see you next time.